My Granary, My Home presents haute couture reinterpretations as a framework for intellectual knowledge dissemination. In the 21st century, visual culture has globally asserted itself as an information transmission platform in the era of dynamic visual media practices. Relatedly, haute couture as a fashion object and visual communication aesthetic has transcended basic representation of cultural artistry towards reinterpretation as a framework of intellectual visuality. The artifact has morphed into a platform for the dissemination of scholarly knowledge. Despite the new novel platforms, including web-based technologies, the written or spoken word in journals, books, and conferences is still largely the domain of scholarly dissemination. Further still, the spaces are mainly accessed by academics and research institutions. Non-academic and non-research audiences such as creative entrepreneurs and practitioners and some policy informers are marginalized in that regard. Although haute couture expression is situated on the fashion stage, which is predominantly a popular culture phenomenon, it asserts as a constructive knowledge dissemination platform. As a fashion expression, the visual aesthetic penetrates marginalized spaces and facilitates wider and target audience reach because the object and its presentation style are imbued with glamour. The appealing style links the spectacle with a set of qualities, values, outcomes, and perceptions that meet the desires of the masses. In addition, the artifact creation process offers an opportunity for the embodiment of socio-cultural contexts through the use of representative materials. That way, the artifact as an inclusive visual aesthetic is able to translate into a cultural vessel articulating embodied notions. I thus argue that the haute couture artifact is a constructive and high-impact knowledge dissemination vessel that can be employed to increase social inclusion, efficiently relay predetermined critical notions, demonstrate pragmatic possibilities, and create memorable tropes. To illustrate the claim, I examined the notion of social sustainability through the commercialized past traditional basketry practice in central Uganda. Social sustainability, as a notion currently directing global order towards sustainable development, refers to the state of good quality of life enabled by valuable societal relationships and sustenance systems. The notion is founded on a frame of concepts including equity, well-being, social cohesion, participation, and sustainability awareness. Data regarding the concept was collected from the commercialized past traditional basketry practice, taken through a creative practical inquiry, and translated into 5 haute couture artifacts, each representing a specific concept. Jean Baudrillard's postmodern notion of liberation of the fashion object underpinned the inquiry. The notion posits that when a fashion object is relieved of its commercial relations and conventional functional duties, it becomes a sign. As a sign, it is free to combine with all other signs to translate into a language that produces meaning. However, language only makes meaning when the signs composing the haute couture object are reliable and recognized by society. As such, to effect message decoding, the creation process relied on the intentional theory of representation. The theory was supported by both the Gestalt sensual theory of grouping and the perceptual communication theory. Then the haute couture artifact, in concert with other signs, namely the artifact title, the caption, and mood imagery, took on the dissemination aspect to relay the social sustainability stance as follows. The equity concept unfolds the social sustainability conceptual exploration with the haute couture entitled Past Traditions and Inclusive Livelihood Resource. In this instance, equity refers to the inclusive distribution of a livelihood opportunity for people in a society. The livelihood opportunity in this case is the readily available array of past traditional culture materials, skills, knowledge, and models of action which have been exploited through generations to translate into value. The materials include, but not limited to, bark cloth, cowries, raffia fibers, banana fibers, and straws. Basketry as a traditional handicraft practice which dates as far back as the history of mankind's need for containers reflects some of the materials used by all interested members of society. The inclusive attribute is symbolically alluded to by the artifact. The arrows illustrate society heading to the mother womb, representing past traditions as an embodiment of productiveness and abundance. In fact, during the research, one of the participants confessed that the basketry skill and business knowledge had been handed down to them from their mother, who had equally acquired it from her mother. This also sustains that indeed traditions are ingrained in society. The root-like structure is symbolic of the rootedness and deep-seated position of the past traditions. It is then possible that the practice is taking care of multiple generations, which remains its productivity and abundance as a livelihood resource. The livelihood stance is captured by the headgear composed of the blossoming basketry ware depicting fruits on a tree. Reminiscing the mythical iconic tree of life, the inclusive livelihood resource symbolizes productivity, abundance, life, and hope. As such, past traditions are an open resource for societies to fully explore for the sustenance of life in the present and the future. Even when the doors of popular sources of materials like China are unpassable due to COVID-19, the local past traditional aesthetic will always be readily available. The current global immobility gives one an opportunity to look back and rethink the present and future. Where is the sustenance of life? What do I know, and how well can I utilize it for new relevant value for both home and beyond? Herein, the haute couture artifacts illustrate the situation. They have been reloaded with new value as intellectual knowledge transmitters with both a national and global stance. The artifacts are innovative repositories of culture experience, development, and society trajectories. They carry a story of material evolution that can inform or frame the future. They also are a possible income resource for a culture archiving institution through both local and foreigner tourism. Further still, the framing of the artifacts demonstrates pragmatic creative enterprise pathways which will be presented later on. The reinvention of the past aims at reaping from the yield of the inclusive resource as exhibited by the well-being, social sustainability concept articulated by the haute couture, my granary, my home, past traditions in gender well-being. Well-being is the state of comfort generated by adequate access to livelihood resources. My granary, my home, haute couture artifact bears the account of well-being created by the traditional basketry practice. First, the artifact top is a traditional mukeka accessorized with ribbons imprinted with universal symbols of the well-being resources. The symbols signify education, income, habitat, water, healthcare, clothing, and community integration. The bottom is a bark cloth decorated with raffia, seemingly a containing gap. Grouping the gap pieces locates the arrangement in a cultural context that visualizes both a hut and granary, which are historical containers for the security of life, valuables, and foodstuff, respectively. Adorned with the well-being symbols, my granary, my home is suggestive of basketry as a life-fulfilling practice that stores and provides for society. During a focus group meeting with the women in April 2018, I asked about the benefits of the traditional practice. One participant asserted,
"When I supply baskets, I get money and contribute to household needs like food, medication, and scholastic materials, especially when my husband is away or not in position to."
Majority of the participants were in agreement, and one interjected that even without a husband, she has taken full charge of the household needs.
I ensure that I get more baskets whenever there's a big order and commit to quality craftsmanship to avoid penalties on non-payment. At the end, I get a good lump sum of money to cater for various needs. I am also hardworking.
She added. The positive impact of traditional basketry on livelihoods denotes the life assurance attribute embodied in the traditional resource. Broadly, the metaphor of a granary connotes a bank of traditional knowledge which is readily available and accessible. In this mobility-challenged COVID-19 new normal, the knowledge can be rethought to build a sustainable welfare domestic economy to support the commercial economy. However, the welfare status is engendered by the relationship among the stakeholders as portrayed in the next section. Together It Lights, haute couture represents social cohesion within the traditional basketry practice in central Uganda. The concept of social cohesion refers to the positive attitude towards cooperation of members of a society in order to nurture productive social well-being. As an aesthetic ingrained in society, past traditions inevitably engender social relations and integration which enhance a sense of community belongingness. The backcloth cape, adorned with images of hand gestures networked by plated colored raffia cords, suggests an encompassing and connected structure. The network mirrors the grouping and relationship within the explored basket-making community. When asked about the benefits of togetherness, one of the participants was quick to respond.
That is the only way we are able to acquire and successfully meet orders for basket production.
Another validated, saying that successful management of the basketry business requires organized grouping with a substantial size that can ably meet set production capacities and lead times. The revolution was insightful, illuminating a likely value that lies in working together. The artifact relays this through the coloration of the codes simulating the electricity wire transmission system that yields connectivity value when efficiently linked. The value is portrayed by the radiating starlit sun rays headgear that indicates a connectivity symbolic of success and life. Thus, the lighting trope implies that togetherness, a pattern prevalent within past traditional practices, yields required results. I learned that many social benefits beyond business accrued from the networks leading to personal, family, and general social well-being. That is, the social capital of networks, collaboration, and partnerships is a key integration aspect equally significant in the contemporary world. I also noted that social cohesion is supported by effective participation of members in all areas of relationships. Following is the haute couture relaying a participation account. Participation is the goal of including all social groups in the decision-making processes to enhance inclusivity, cohesion, and security. The concept is a necessary component in attainment of social sustainability and herein signified by the haute couture entitled Amazing Protest, Our Voices Matter. The haute couture artifact is a composition of Ugandan traditional ethnic dress designs, the toga, kanzu, and gomesi. The fabric used is strategically decorated with a print of the Ganda mat, mukeka pattern, overlapped with images of the universal interrogative symbols of the question, exclamation, and cross marks. The highly stylized replay and merger of the past garment designs is destabilized by the interrogative fabric pattern marks and hand symbolism, which express surprise emotions and negation. The fabric patterns in concert are intriguing and relay undertones of dissatisfaction and protest. The tones were unveiled in one of the research discussions when in a lowered voice one of the women stealthily expressed,
"For sure, when you cost, you realize that the profit margin is too small. But when one introduces the subject matter for discussion with our trading partner, we are silenced and reminded that working with the partner is a choice. Often we continue settling for the small return because of lack of a better option.
Although the expression was affirmed by another group of weavers, what intrigued the inquiry was the persistence of the basketry practice. The weaver had negotiated and surmounted the challenge. On consultation, I learned that the weaver had opted for cheaper materials in order to minimize the cost of production, an action that seemed to compromise quality. The situation further illuminated a power challenge and deployment of a human agency tool, critical subjects worthy highlighting, although beyond the scope of this issue. Thus, the situation connotes consequential negative impact across the supply chain and a caution to trading partners. A similar trait is exhibited by the cracked sustainability shield hereafter. The cracked sustainability shield haute couture artifact represents the sustainability awareness question within the basketry practice. The social sustainability concept is herein explored for its reference to the need for behavioral change towards ecological production. The haute couture artifact is equally composed of various pieces. First is a human simulation dressed in a polyviscose fabric print adorned with raffia fringes, a backcloth gap printed with a leaf effect symbolic of a sustainability shield, and lastly, a basketry wear globe embellished to reflect the environment. The expression presents the shield as a defender of humanity and the earth. Disrupting the ensemble is the crack in the sustainability shield. As a representation of the commercialized traditional basketry practice, the crack is alluding to a sustainability gap between the basketry practice and the environment. The gap was exposed when a raffia dyeing observation session revealed a dye staff authenticity challenge. Although the fibers used to make the baskets are natural, the quality and safety of the colorants are questionable. The dye stuff is renowned for toxic compositions and lacks provenance. Subsequently, its application and disposal methods embody possible negative and detrimental impacts to both humanity and the environment. Interaction with the dye trader did not yield reassuring results because the environmental and human safety dye stuff product certificates were missing. Prevalence and continuity of the practice revealed a misconception and underestimation of the natural material element and its role in sustainable development within commercialized past traditional practices. It also exposed the sustainability standard gap within the value chain, necessitating government attention and intervention through trade regulations and restrictions. Despite that gloom, presented henceforth is the framing detail of the artifacts, further demonstrating pragmatic, innovative, socio-economic value possibilities. The artifacts exemplify the embodiment of distinct art and design creative value pathways, including reloaded hand embroidery, unique aesthetic restructuring for new roles, tradition reapplication for contemporary styles, past aesthetic representation using new technology and new fabrics, a merger of traditional styles for exclusive design, and reinvented fabric aesthetic towards one-off exclusive art and design statements. Although presented as haute couture artifacts, the developed creative approaches further deploy the versatility value of past traditional aesthetic. The reinventions can shape ideas for other creative expressions such as fashion, fashion bags and more, gift items, and home decor. That progression of the haute couture artifact into a knowledge dissemination platform in the era of dynamic visual media offers an inclusive pathway towards a probable realization of global agendas. Through intellectual engagement, fashion designer artists assert as possible partners and haute couture artifacts as potential sites for critical social cultural intervention initiatives. Significantly, the inquiry portrays an array of the social sustainability value embodied in material culture, including the archival of contextual cultural accounts to facilitate societal development, the advancement of material through reinventions, rethought processes, and alternative sourcing. The experience also provides important insight for pragmatic possibilities during constrained situations such as the prevalent COVID-19 crisis. Critical to note, however, is that visual comprehension is highly subjective. As such, an interpretation of visual language modalities and relations in targeted contexts, further underpinned by theory, is crucial to support effective message decoding.